Welcome back to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Scarlet and Violet. These games have wrapped up, but we still have so many mysteries that have been unsolved. We've played the DLC, we've played the epilogue,
but there is still some room for additional content.
Whether we see DLC or additional epilogues, possibly a sequel to Scarlet and Violet akin to Black 2 and White 2, or maybe won't be answered for 15 years when we eventually get a remake of Scarlet and Violet. What would that be?
We'll get our Paradox Scarlet and Paradox Violet.
2045.
I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Let's do that. So today we're going to be talking about all of that and more. My name is DustyGogoat. Of course, I'm with the LumiosePost.
Hello.
And SoulSilverArt.
What's up?
I hope you guys are doing well. This is going to be a fun episode. And Lumi, I'll pass it off to you.
You know, this idea really comes from a lot of people, including myself. I think I would go as far as to say especially myself. Felt like there was a lot of incompleteness with the Indigo Disc, and I don't mean that like, I don't even mean that like, oh, there should have been more battles. I mean, there were a lot of mysteries, especially tied to Area Zero.
Yeah, mysteries is the right word. This isn't
right.
This isn't the Kalos region where it's like where Scarlet and Violet is unfinished. It's really just mysteries. There's questions that Scarlet and Violet has answered. There's new lore that they've introduced, and I think we want answers.
Yes, like I think the biggest thing for me is, and oddly enough, the Pokemon Company, when marketing the Return to Area Zero and Indigo Disc, they showed off the like cave engraving where you find Roaring Moon or Iron Valiant.
Yeah.
They show off like the different symbols and stuff. And so, you know, that led me, I think, reasonably to assume that that was going to be addressed in Indigo Disc, and literally did not, like, bring it up. Like, not even to question it again. They never even said, like, oh, what is this, I wonder? They just didn't touch it at all. And so, that's interesting. There's other stuff, too. I don't know if we want to, like, break it up, like, discuss that one first and then move on or anything like that. But that is a big one. I think that's my least favorite one that they did. Like, that is my, I hate so much they did not address this, because there is evidence of like a civilization Area Zero, right? Like, not only are there those engravings that aren't natural, but then you have the metal like slab, I guess, in the cave of Area Zero that has also been engraved, but they're like, oh, this metal doesn't look like it's, you know, even scratchable. And then so
it's like ancient alien kind of stuff, right? It's like there was something. Well, I don't know if you want to jump into it right away, but like, you know, to me, I think Area Zero has a lot of parallels. Most of Paldea has a lot of parallels. The Indigo Disc has a lot of parallels to Atlantis, right? Which would suggest an ancient civilization. So I think...
Well, that's what I was going to say too, is, so correct me if I'm wrong, but don't Koraidon and Miraidon's abilities directly reference Atlantis? Like, it's Orichalcum Pulse.
Just Koraidons.
Oh, just Koraidons? Okay. Or an Orichalcum that is like, how is that tied to Atlantis? I know it's tied to Atlantis.
It's like the like mineral, or I guess mineral, yeah. The rock or whatever that's found in Atlantis, or like gold. You know what I mean? Like gold of Atlantis kind of thing. Sure. Like their currency.
So it's the vibranium of Atlantis.
There you go. I gotta always do Marvel terms. That's how
dude, Marvel. It's easy, right? Like, it's everything.
That's because Marvel has covered everything that's possible to think of. That's why.
That's actually really interesting to think of. Yeah, like Marvel's been going on for what, 60 years?
More maybe now.
The comics, like
the comics.
I think they're nearing 100.
Yeah. So Pokemon is, that's crazy to think that in some. Yeah, that's cool, dude. I want to play the Pokemon game in 100 years. Dude, the franchise is going to be massive.
Let's hope we're alive to play it in 100 years.
That's the biggest goal.
Maybe they invent something that keeps us alive longer, you know, then there we
are.
Or
at least, like, they can freeze me when I'm Pokemon. 70, wake me up in 70 years, you know?
I just want to be cloned, I think. So one of the biggest mysteries for me, I want to learn more about the Ruinous Quartet, right? We have some basic history of what the Ruinous Quartet was. I believe it was 3,000 years ago. That's when let me pull up my notes. If you give me 1 second, I do have an outline of this.
It is like not really Paldean, though, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because they were not from Paldea.
They came
that
from
is
the
something
east.
they can answer in a
You might actually get that
game.
answer. Yeah, you might actually get that answer before 15 years from now,
think?
you know?
That's oh yeah,
Yeah.
like in another game.
It's outside of Paldea. Yeah, I mean, you figure we got more lore to the what are they called? The Kami trio
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Legends Arceus, completely unrelated to Unova.
Mm-hmm. Or was it?
Yeah, so 2,000 years ago, the Paldean Empire begins to rule Paldea. There's an emperor. There was also an expedition to Area Zero. And then also, I think it was, around 1,500 years ago, Gimmighouls start to show up. 1,000 years ago, the Empire declines. And I think that is when the Ruinous Quartet, they kind of get brought into existence. But I want to learn more about that. I think they've really got a hold on me. I think they're really interesting. Yeah, and just like you guys are saying, like the Reggies, like all of these other groups of Pokemon, we will. I do think we'll get either a like a ring, a fifth member to kind of tie them all together.
There is supposedly a fifth treasure somewhere out there.
I'm working on a theory video with that right now. I got a brand new fake mon to tie in with that, but I can't wait to get that official answer. That's probably my biggest thing. What about you, Soul? What's something that you
out of everything, bro?
What?
I think there's like the whole Terapagos everything, and you picked the Ruinous Quartet.
Well, I think the Ruinous Quartet are cool.
It's great. I'm not saying it's just like out of all the mysteries.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because I wouldn't.
Yeah. I don't know, like the main thing of this episode. Yeah, that's true. The main thing of this episode is like, could there be more Scarlet and Violet to come? Scarlet and Violet 2, more DLC. It leaves it so open to being like, yeah, there could be. Why didn't they do like an epilogue for a Terapagos like they did for Pecharunt? But at the same time,
we
after digging.
Terapagos, right? Terapagos.
Yeah.
We caught it.
After digging into the lore, I'm like, I feel like it's pretty complete. I think it's pretty complete. When I finished the game, I was like,
oh, interesting.
There's so much like that they didn't answer and didn't say, but when you do like the post game thing at the Crystal Pool,
and you meet the professor.
Yeah, it changes everything. Like everything in that conversation basically can answer everything that you have a question about. Like I
guess truly that felt like an epilogue, right? Like that felt like a true ending to the story. But there's still, to me, I mean, I'll keep going back to this. The thing in Area Zero not being addressed is so suspicious to me.
I can answer your question, Lumi.
Okay, go.
So let me just get it straight first.
All right.
Your question is what are the symbols? Is that what your question is? Like why?
Yeah, all about them. What are they? Where are they? Like where are they from? Who made them? All that. When?
Yeah. Well, so you can't get all those answers. That's a lot. But the one main thing that I've understood, and I've been digging so deep, even while this whole Pecharunt thing has been happening. I've been just like racking my brain about all of the mysteries of Area Zero and Terapagos and the stellar type, all of it. So the main thing with your question is Terapagos powers bring inanimate objects from different timelines. Okay, that's the only thing that can stay in a different timeline. Like the Paradox Pokemon, they come with the mist, or even the professors, they come with the mist, and then they have to return back to their respective universes.
But inanimate objects get brought?
Inanimate objects get brought. Even just like the time machine, it brings
the
a Pokeball
that they trade you.
Yeah.
The book that
they trade you a book, and the book stays, but the professor has to go back. The time machine is a copy of Terapagos' powers. That's all it is. It's literally just Sada and Turo were like, I want Terapagos' powers to bring the paradise here.
Powers.
Yeah, so they recreate it with the time machine. It can't send anything living through it. The Pokemon is in a Pokeball, and the Pokeball gets sent through it. It captures them in the other place,
and that's how we're able to transfer Pokemon to each other's games in different timelines, right? That's why when you get a Pokemon, that's in their description of like where you found them. If they're from like Gen 3 or 4, it says like fateful encounter through space and time, right? That's usually in a Pokemon's bio.
So with Lumi's question, that whole crater has been there for 2 million years. It's been there. Terapagos has been down there for 2 million years, bringing things back and forth from different timelines here and there. The what is it? The like glyphs on the ground that could have been a people that he brought, like a few people from way back in ancient times, and they like literally drew it on there, or it could have been there from the beginning because it's been there for a very long time. The metal piece is from the future of the same material that made the Paradox future Pokemon. It's unscratchable. It was brought there accidentally by Terapagos, just like random stuff. And it just stayed there because it's an inanimate object. I think that is the answer to all of that, because that's like how its powers work, and that's how all of that functions.
That to me, that would explain the metal. That to me would not explain the cave engraving.
The cave engraving is what? The one on the ground?
Yeah, and the Roaring Moon Iron Valiant room.
Right. I think that was somebody that actually put that on the ground, like somebody
brought by Terapagos. Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So
or it could have been someone ancient and it could have just been like caved in, and that was always there. Like someone had drawn that 1 million, 2 million years ago, whatever.
So you're explaining how those objects found their way into Area Zero, but you're not really explaining like where they're from. Originally.
Oh no, but because you can't. How can you know like where
they're from? Another timeline.
Yeah,
the multiverse is infinite. I mean, it's from some random timeline.
Honestly, if he brought people in, let's say 2 million years ago, there was no one on the Earth, just like Pokemon, whatever, and then the thing caved in from an earthquake, and then Terapagos brought people from the future, technically, but they're ancient to us, but they're from the future of that point. And then they drew those glyphs like they were just like, natives. And they drew the glyphs on the ground and they're like, where are we? How do we get back? Let's draw these, like they don't understand. Or it could have been even some aliens or something. Who knows? But then with Heath's page, like just going over all of the items, the only one I don't know is that one that is like swirly on Sada and Turo's chalkboard, whatever board thing. Yeah. That's the only one I can't explain because there's no information on it whatsoever. Heath's one is literally a page from Heath's book that somebody gives to him that is his own handwriting. I assume it was him that gave it to himself. Yeah, I assume that's what it was. But yeah, so those describe the 4 of them. That's been a huge thing that I've been planning on posting that, so everyone's gonna see this before I post it, I'm sure. But either way.
So I think so when we got Pecharunt, right, I think there is a lot of now discussion and a lot of ideas of what other epilogues we could potentially get. Right, you just mentioned like maybe a Terapagos epilogue, right? But there could be new mythical Pokemon where we get an epilogue, and I think a highlight, a kind of understated highlight of mythical events in the past is that we typically get access to new locations. And Lumi, I remember you and I a year ago before Scarlet and Violet came out, we discussed the possibility of going deeper into Area Zero, which is what we did see in the DLC, right? But that was still, I feel like, pretty limited, right? I feel like...
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, I think there could be, you go into the time machine, it brings you to a point in time, it's maybe a fixed room where you access a mythical or maybe an additional part of a story. That could be something really easy that they incorporate, right? Whether it's an epilogue or, just an add-on of some sort. That time machine opens up so many possibilities. And before you write that comment that says, they're not going to allow us to go through time and space, they have allowed us to go through ultra wormholes. Right? We've literally done that. I think we've been through the whole song and dance. We've done the time machine thing. Yeah. I feel like in Gen 2, in Gen 2.
Time to travel.
Dude,
we time traveled in Legends Arceus.
We time travel in Legends Arceus, yeah. In Generation 4 even, if you want to go back that far, right? We've gone through the distortion space, the distortion, whatever it's called, the distortion realm. We've also teamed up with Celebi to see the story of Giovanni, right? There's been tons of time travel in the past in a Pokemon game. I think it's time, and I think there's a great opportunity for them to continue some of these story elements. Like, can't you imagine that we like hop into the time machine and go back in time to talk to Sato and Turo from like the same one that we spoke to, that we gave the book to in the, I guess you could call it the epilogue or the end of the DLC. that same one that comes to our timeline.
Post-credit scene.
Yeah, we could go into that timeline to then talk to them again. What if we bring Arvin, right? That's a story that I think needs a continuation, right? Arvin has zero closure.
Their timeline is crazy, though. Like, theirs is probably completely different than ours because they get rid of the Scarlet. They get rid of the Scarlet and Violet book. So,
and maybe that's how you can get
this book.
I'm sorry.
No, so it just means that like there's a world where they didn't abandon Arvin. Like their Arvin is probably still with them.
Oh, that's
it's
interesting.
possible because they gave us the Scarlet and Violet book means that they might not have made the time machine because they hadn't made it yet.
Sure.
But anyway, it's a different timeline, so it's wild. Anything can happen like that.
I think there's also a lot of paradox.
I agree
Pokemon
with what you're saying,
that are
but
only
at the same time, I feel like people really want more answers about Terapagos. Like even what I just said is just like my own theory on it, right? Like it could be wrong. It could. I think it's backed up by the whole game, but other people might think differently, and people want like answers of like because at the end you just feel like they can do so much more. Yeah, they can do so much more.
They could always do more. I think another subtitle of this, or some subtext or context for this episode is really like, obviously there's an infinite amount of things that they can do, and because the Pokemon machine is not going to stop, not everything's going to get answered. And I think they also very strategically leave things unanswered, so we make content like this, right? And
I love
people
that too.
in the community.
I love that too. I feel like though that, like, I feel like the Ruins of Treasure and their kind of history, how they're brought to light, that's a fun mystery. That is a mystery that I think you can kind of leave unsolved. The symbols that you put on the cartridge of your game, and you like kept hyping up, like as if it was gonna get directly
significant
addressed in the DLC. That can't be left a mystery.
And that's not a crazy thing that people are expecting. Like in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they hide Ultra Necrozma in plain sight on the box cover, right? And you only know that's Ultra Necrozma and not a beam of light. You only know that. Here, I'll show you.
You didn't know? Bro.
So like
the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon background you said?
Here.
How don't you know this?
I did not know this.
I'm like, you know everything.
Dude, I paid very little attention to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And that's not because they're bad games.
No, but not only that, like it's been popping up on Twitter every now and then. It'll just be like, I never knew this. Like
I try to not go on Twitter. It's why I'm happy.
Dude, right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did vaguely remember that. Yes, I did vaguely remember that.
Really, you only see
like
you only see half of it.
Figured this out,
and you think it's just a burst of light, right? You wouldn't know that's Necrozma until you actually play the game. So the box cover of Scarlet and Violet has all these symbols on it. So Lumi, you make a good point that you would assume that would be explained in some way.
Did you look at the tweet, like what it just said? It's like, did you even know that this was like this? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Never noticed.
Never noticed this. So many people. September,
Shout out to Tuya. Come on the podcast.
She's fun.
So just I want to just bring it up since we're talking about it. These little symbols. Yeah, these little symbols right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's been tons of theory videos explaining what they are. But
but that's like what they mean.
And listen, again, not everything needs to be answered, but like if this,
I get what Lumi's saying though. These are on the cover.
They're on the cover and they're in the game. It's like, okay, well, what do they mean?
Aesthetics. It's aesthetics.
Well, I think it being in the game, it can be left a mystery depending on the
just
scope
random
of it,
science.
This was hyped up, is my thing, by the Pokemon Company, by putting it on the cover, by showing it off in the trailers. It was, you gave it unnecessary. You kept pointing at it and going, guys, look, and then you do nothing with it. So that's really weird to me. Also, one of you brought up Arvin, talking about Arvin and his parents. And that's another thing that, to me, that's not necessarily a mystery, but, we're also talking about room where they could expand. And let me just go ahead and get this out there. I think that just as we're going to discuss how there could be DLC or an expansion of some kind, I think that we should eventually on here discuss why there won't be, because I don't think there will be. Okay. This is just a fun,
like, to say that at the end of the episode.
This is like a fun what if, right? And I do think that, like you said, Dusty, some of these things would get addressed either, with the Ruinous Quartet thing, like Soul said, it could be addressed in a future game that's not related to Paldea. But then some stuff I think could get addressed in a Paldea remake in 2039. But
Yeah.
2050
is
address
gonna be a good
things in
game.
remakes, though. I know you're on a thought, so don't lose your thought. But do they, in remakes, they just start like a whole new lore thing?
I
They
think
don't ever,
that's true. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
they don't really address the old thing, the old game. They're like, oh, this is all something
That's not
else.
true. We got a bunch
Oris
of
kind of did. Oris
Yeah.
was very big on that. And then
third versions also do
while
that a
not
lot.
a remake per se, Legends did a lot of that.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
say remake,
No,
I
you're
guess I should not say remake, because remake implies remaking Scarlet and Violet. What I mean is another Paldea set game, whether
Yeah.
that's Legends, Let's Go, or a remake.
That's fair.
Let's Go does
I was
answer
asking
some
the
things,
question.
right? We see it's like a forever mystery was like, who the heck is Green and why is she not actually in the games, right? And they
Yeah.
canonized her in the games. That's like a huge thing.
And Let's Go,
I think
yeah.
Crystal version gave a lot of significance to a lot of Pokemon in like Suicune.
I want to know why they
obviously.
randomly replaced Crystal with Lyra.
Yeah,
I hate
I think
that.
it was.
That's what I want to know.
I hate it.
I think I remember reading why, and I forget. I
I'm
don't
sure
know.
there's an out of world reason,
There,
but I want
those
to know
early,
what
the
Crystal
early
is
games are. There's tons of like localization things that happen. Like Green, I think was in Red and Green, but she wasn't
No.
in Red and Blue. I don't know for sure, but that's just what I'm
Um,
assuming. She was a character at some point, and then they were like, but
Yeah, I
it
think-
never happened in
I
the
think
West.
they got rid of Chris because the game wasn't Crystal, so they were like, there is a reason for that. I remember seeing like an interview or something. But anyways, yeah, I think what's
that makes
exciting.
sense.
What is it?
Oh, I was saying that makes sense that they would replace her because it wasn't a Crystal remake.
Yeah, I think some things that we've got delivered to us, like Terapagos, the story of Terapagos and the time travel, it's like maybe we're not super happy with the explanation that we got, and we probably can't expect an additional story to flesh out, right, our fateful encounter with Terapagos. It is what it is, right? It's always going to be tied to Kieran's story. But things, I think things like Arvin and getting additional backstory to what his life is like now, as an adult, as we've met his parents and seeing I think a continuation of that story would be great. And I also think it'd be really great to learn more and to interact more with the ex-members of Team Star, right? We saw them go through the craziest physical transformation. They no longer have their costumes on, right? They're alter egos. They're now just dressed up like regular students, right? The kids who were bullied. And we
I
do
was
get
disappointed with that.
yeah.
Not with them changing.
Their
but,
designs
like,
are really
their
cool.
whole- yeah, no, I mean like the whole little plot. Like, what was
yeah.
the point, bro?
Yeah.
What is this? Just like to show us them for a minute. Like,
I think it is.
Right.
Yeah, I think it is.
I wish that they would give us something. I love doing quests that at the end you earn something for what you
Yes.
did. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I will do anything. Even right now, I'm still playing Scarlet and Violet. I'm still playing the Indigo Disc until my BP runs out. And once my BP runs out, then I'm just like, I don't know. Because I was trying to get everybody in the League Club, but it's literally impossible for me to do that without getting more BP.
So
and
go
I'm like, I have
online.
to battle.
So
Go to
just-
our Discord, and
just
if you want to
go
play with Soul,
multiplayer.
so go into our Discord and open up multiplayer. Everyone's gonna flood you, and then you just do like an hour of BPs, and you'll have like 20,000 BPs. And if you
Maybe
want to
you're right.
play Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with SoulSilverArt, become a Patreon or a channel member, join our Discord, and you can play Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with us.
Let's roll that ad.
Yeah, bink. If you're enjoying this episode, please consider supporting Hidden Power on Patreon or YouTube channel members. Right now, we have 4 tiers, and the lowest membership starts at just $5 a month. Supporters get access to our secret Discord server and help control the direction of the podcast. Supporters also get access to our archive of bonus episodes.
Okay, so our Discord honestly is popping. We have other creators in there too, which is
Yeah.
kind of fun. It ain't just the 3 of us. We're discussing leaks when they drop. We talk about about news. We'll be talking about how SoulSilverArt has, just garbage takes.
It's so much
a place
fun.
for us to connect.
I'm in there every day. Also, we have revamped our merch store. So proud of every product that is in this store now. We have stickers, t-shirts, mugs, ball caps, right? The dad caps. These ball caps are embroidered. Look at this. It's literally an embroidered.
So clean.
You cannot get anything more high quality than that.
I just got news. Do y'all hear that? Solbasaur says that he even has his own merch.
I'll talk for him. It's beautiful. Very cool designs. You guys should
Very
check it out.
Japanese style.
Even the front of the shirt has a unique logo.
I'm getting one for sure.
If you're invested in this show, invest in the show. Thank you so much for watching, and now back to the video.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome back. I think another big mystery that didn't really get an explanation, and it's just resting in my head canon right now that Herba Mystica has something to do with Terapagos. Because Herba Mystica,
they gave no answers to.
No answers.
Well,
There's literally a tree.
kind of one that actually is subtly answered.
Okay.
You think so? I don't think so at all.
I think subtly, and I think it's the tree. The tree has a little branch that looks exactly like the little icon for Herba Mystica.
I'll have to go like
in your bag.
Look at it.
I think that the idea is that it is tied to the terrestrial phenomenon, like that crystal, those crystals being in the soil, allows for this weird plant to grow.
That's interesting. Actually, right here, look at this. So you can see like the terra crystals shooting up from the ground, taking hold of just a regular tree, and maybe that terra power grants the fruits of the tree, or the herbs, right? The herbs of the tree, to then have the properties of Herba Mystica.
Sure.
Which honestly, that would make sense.
It terrestrializes the tree.
There's nothing in the game that says that.
Well, and that's my thing is big things like that I don't think should be left to like being able to theorize it off of context clues. But
I guess you could say that in the Scarlet and Violet book they do say, and that Herba Mystica comes from Area Zero. Right. And that's it. So like,
I think that's the idea is you're seeing that tree, and that's what tells you, like, that hammers that home.
Yeah.
Since it comes from Area Zero, then it has powers. That's basically the answer.
Yeah. Like, but that is such a I hate saying the L word when it comes to Pokemon because I feel like that's trigger, but that's lazy.
Lazy. Yeah, I think
okay.
I
don't know if it's lazy or just too much stuff that they couldn't even finish that one.
Yeah, well, that's another thing too. That's a discussion for another time. It does just feel like they kind of just they flew too close to the sun. But that's another thing too. Is Arven, to me, while not a mystery, talking about room where they could expand on Scarlet and Violet, Arven to me has so much more story left. That man is crying for help. I mean, like, think about the epilogue. So the very last thing
I don't care
in Scarlet and Violet is the epilogue. And you're in Kitakami, you get this call from Arven. He's just like, hey, can we hang out? And, he's even, like, kind of upset that Nimona and Penny are there. And, he's like, dude, that guy's struggling. Like, it's sad.
He's like, I just want to come over like friends.
Right.
Bro, I don't really care about Arven too much. But
what?
I don't like his design, but
I don't like his personality even. I don't know.
You got to think of it so like he literally raised
himself. He's
a
child of trauma.
He's a child of trauma, right? I think I figured it out though. Because the Pokemon characters really aren't that deep typically, I think I definitely judge them on their physical appearance, which I just want to be clear, I don't do that in real life. But in Pokemon games where the designs are supposed to be cool, Arven, because it doesn't help that he's wearing a school uniform. The school uniforms make me not like any of the characters in this game.
I am ready to
the orange clown pants.
The school uniform.
I'm sick of it,
dude. The school uniform.
Yeah. Talk about missed opportunities. Talk about things that they get add-on for the longevity.
Proper clothes.
No, the Blueberry Academy outfits are pretty good. All right,
yes,
I want.
Even still, though, I wish I could have a little customization beyond what they've even given us with the DLC. I want to say too, maybe this is wrong to say in this video. Maybe this isn't the place for it. So we can say it. And if y'all think that I, should save it for another video, we can move on. But I really hope that in Gen 10 we move away from sci-fi. No sci-fi plot.
What? I mean, you can say that, but I don't agree with it.
I just don't know what they.
What else would they do? What, you want to do like equestrian stuff?
What
like,
do the first?
You want to be a fisherman?
Gens?
You want to?
I wouldn't say 5. I'd say like the first 2 maybe.
5.
Because
even not 4.
Even 3
not 4.
is pretty wild.
Not 4. Gen 3. Okay, well then I guess
Gen
there should be a limit
epic.
on how sci-fi it is. I guess
If you're talking about
time travel,
the time travel,
alternate
yeah, I
world
agree.
Stuff.
I didn't think that they were going to go
Gen 3, but
yeah, I didn't think they were going to go in that direction in this game. I was like, are they going to do time travel again? Multiverses again? I didn't think that was happening.
They very much did. But I think I've come to find that the games that I don't want to say enjoy the least because it's not that
you're turning into our age bracket right now. You're becoming a.
Am I?
You're becoming a senior Pokemon fan. You're about to say. You were just about to say back at the games that I grew up playing. You were just about to say.
No. I wasn't. I was gonna say that the games that I least enjoy.
Okay.
Were the Sun and Moon games. Like looking back on them, like I enjoyed them playing them, but the Sun and Moon games. For plot reasons, Sun and Moon and Scarlet and Violet, because I was just like, I don't know. It kind of when Pokemon tries to get too sci-fi, I feel like they honestly they fly too close to the sun. I'm like,
that's interesting.
You're not good at this.
So for me,
I know what you mean. They don't know how to explain everything properly, and they need
so it's like then just don't.
It's so in depth. The topics are so complex and they are not complex in explaining them. They just it's turtles all the way down.
So it's like I'd rather you put that effort that you're trying to put into these crazy sci-fi elements into a region that isn't bland, a game where I don't have a chance to fall through the earth, buildings where I can actually go inside them. And DLC that I actually go, oh, this was good.
See, okay, my only pushback on that, I got 2 things. One, I think the stories, I think the relatability, the characters, the depth of the characters progression, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that is some of the strongest in both of the titles.
I agree.
That you just named, which is Scarlet and Violet and Sun and Moon. So for me, I've actually enjoyed those games where I think Kalos is really boring, even though there is a grand finale.
I also agree with that.
I think Kalos is super boring. I think, right? I think
the plot,
the plot,
not the game.
I also think Sword and Shield is super boring in that way. I think it, right. There's things about those games that I like, but so for me, and I also like sci-fi, so I'm down with it. The sci-fi is good. I think there is some. Listen, I think Legends Arceus was so magical because it felt immersive, but the crux of that game is sci-fi. The game is, the context of the game is set up that we time travel into a new location and then have to use our primal resources to survive, right?
Yeah,
so it grounds us in that way.
I don't know if
it's a little different than what I'm talking about. When I'm talking
I know what you're
about,
saying. There's interdimensional beings. There's time travel.
Right.
But
and honestly, too, I like what you said. Scarlet and Violet, I think, has the best character development of any Pokemon game, even with characters that I didn't care for, like Kieran. So I think that is a really high point. But I'm talking purely about when they try to explain the semantics, the how it works and all that, and they're just not good at it. So it's like I wish that you just be able to make Sword and Shield like plots with the character development and the attention to.
Bro, Sword and Shield's plot was so bad.
It was
non-existent, dude.
But I think that's the issue.
In thinking back, the art style is actually gorgeous.
It was non-existent.
Looking back, the art style is gorgeous.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is I think the only thing that was bad about the Sword and Shield plot is that there wasn't a plot until the last 15 minutes of the game.
But it still isn't even a good plot, though. It's like, we need the energy, I'm going to do it now.
It made no sense.
It's because they rushed it. It was only in the 15 minutes of the game. I think if that had been expanded upon throughout, like for example, Diamond and Pearl, you have the and even Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, Ruby Sapphire, you have the villains. Their goals are stupid. Yeah. You want to drown us,
That's true.
But
that's very true.
But people still reward those plots because you're learning about the character. You're learning how they work. Like Cyrus was so interesting because when you first meet him, you're not introduced to him as a villain. And he kind of talks about his view on the world, rather than Chairman Rose being here. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm worried about what's going to happen in 3 million years. So I'm going to doom us all. Yeah. And it's like, what? That doesn't even make sense. It was just too rushed.
Yeah, no. But, so to your point, so I just to bring us back on track a little bit. I do think a good solution, looking back, Gen 5 actually was really successful with the smaller scale story. The story surrounds the characters of a region, and it's not sci-fi. It's the grandiose of the story, right? The legendaries, everything circles around philosophy, which is as human as it can get. It's about morality and human goals and desires, right? And willpower. That's what Black and White is all about. And then the legendaries are a manifestation of an ancient tale, rather than extraterrestrial beings. So I think that honestly, that's a good discussion. I think it's a little off topic. I think
it is. We could definitely do a whole episode on all of that.
No, that's a really good discussion.
I love that topic. I
said all that. I said all that with a purpose related to this topic. Sure. I just lost sight of it.
So what is it about?
I say all that to say I really liked the Mochi Mayhem storyline because I felt like it was that. It was, I mean, obviously it was a lot shorter, but it was very character focused. There was a lot of character development and really cool character moments, but it was not introducing these concepts that Game Freak didn't even know how to explain.
Yeah.
So I say that to say, if there was an epilogue, another DLC, a sequel game to Scarlet and Violet, I would want the story approach to be similar to that epilogue where, like, let's maybe not introduce these crazy concepts. I think the most likely thing we would get is an epilogue. And I say that because, I think that, Black and White or something is going to be our game this year. But also because they did say epilogue for the hidden treasure of Area Zero, and that is an interesting phrase.
Said that?
Not the.
It's A-N?
They said
Here's an epilogue. What? I didn't even see that.
I love it. I was picking on Dusty earlier off camera about his accent, and now
you're
Lumi's
hearing
doing his own. Lumi's doing his own. Like
the country. UN is how I pronounce it. I'm trying to scroll through.
Funny, Florida is as south as you can get in the U.S., but it's like the most standard.
Let me tell you something. The further south you go, the further north you go.
Yeah,
it's weird. But to your point, Lumi, I don't know if it's an epilogue, but it does say Scarlet and Violet DLC epilogue. That's like the main thing that people are pointing out. It's just like, it's even Joe Merrick. Joe Merrick said it's interesting that they're doing just a DLC epilogue, but not a Scarlet and Violet.
That's really
cool. Look at what I just tagged you on Twitter, and you pull it up where it's on screen where everyone can see it.
Sure, I'll show you.
Do it now.
Hold on. I'm getting nervous.
This is the post where they announced it, and read it. Epilogue.
Oh, he tagged us.
Well,
I didn't even know you tagged me. There was so much chaos.
A new adventure in the land of Kami awaits. An epilogue for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Hidden treasure of Area Zero arrives on January 11th. Okay, so let's recap this real quick. Or let's just break this down, right? If we're going to get another epilogue, right, they're going to be these small stories. And I think, listen, this is my prediction. I think they said an epilogue because we are going to get additional epilogues to tie in with new mythical Pokemon. That is my prediction.
That would be fun. I'd love that.
That would be fun.
That's my prediction.
It would be pointless, but
it wouldn't be pointless.
It would be more of what we're talking about.
Because think about it, Dusty. You're saying it'd be pointless. Hypothetically, if we're following the normal 3-year pattern, I think we will. 2025, we are getting a brand new Pokemon, a brand new generation. Yeah. So I would think Petron's are mythical for 2024. So if we get a mythical in 2025, I think it's more likely that they would tie it to, like they did with Magirna,
Sure,
they would
yeah,
tie it to the Genteng game.
That's true. I like
That's
that.
a movie, maybe a movie would be tied into it though, because we haven't gotten an anime movie yet either. So if they did do that, it could be like a.
And I think an epilogue is the only thing. There's like four possibilities, right? An epilogue is obviously the safest bet. I think we can get another epilogue.
I believe
Is
so.
it?
Are we gonna get another? Are we gonna?
I think it's the safest bet.
Are we gonna get a third?
You think less likely than DLC?
I think that all of it's insane.
No, I think another
What's the
epilogue makes
most
sense. An
likely?
epilogue is not insane.
Yeah.
A DLC though, I think is kind of crazy. But what would you want to see in that DLC based on what we just discussed? I think for me, like where else could the story go? I think
There's plenty that they can do with Area Zero.
I think it's very clearly southern,
God.
a new location.
Oh my
Southern
god!
Province.
Oh my god.
We don't need to have a full conversation, okay? I don't want to. I just don't even want to hear you guys.
They
Discuss
could do
this.
that though.
But
If
that's what I
there
want.
was a potential, if there was
That
a
is where it would
potential
be.
DLC, that could be very
Yeah.
possible because
I was actually gonna say, first off, I will once again say
Shout out to
I'm glad
Raccoon
that y'all
Fun.
addressed this because I think that people will want us to address the little gray area at the northwest of Paldea or northeast of Paldea. And I still think that was only there to show Paldea's not an island.
Yep.
But
That's what Soul said. I agree.
I would want, if there were DLC, like an expansion, I would want Portugal and Spain to get the love they deserve and it be based off of a Portuguese or Spanish area. Like they could do the Canary Islands, they could do Azores. I think that would be where I would personally set it. But yeah.
Totally. I've been dreaming about the Azores since we learned about Paldea, and it's sad.
It's definitely possible though. If there was, let's just hypothetically, if there was a new DLC, that part of Kalos is still there.
It's right
or whatever
there,
it's going to be called,
and it would make sense. The only other thing is that like this grayed out area is the same grayed out area as the crater, right? Mm-hmm. Which maybe is
that was why it was like so.
That's why people thought
viable.
Well, that realistic. And Sierra Dawn, who is a VGC caster and VGC player, she got to attend a preview of the Indigo Disc, and in it she asked the
dude, what are you about to say?
I guess the staff that's there like monitoring you playing the game. She asked the staff if they would expand upon or she asked the staff if she could go back to Paldea to see if they opened up the northeast area.
Did they
and
expel
he said no, you cannot go back to Paldea, you have to stay in the terrarium. She said, well, are we going to be able to visit that place? And the guy or girl said no, or they said
you can't go back.
All they could say,
wouldn't answer.
They said that all they could say was there are still many mysteries that the Pokemon Company wants to leave a surprise.
Yeah, so that part of that.
It's weird that they would not just shut her down, and tell her no.
There wasn't any mysteries really that we got surprised about.
Right.
So I don't know what you were talking about, but
I don't. The item printer.
Yeah, maybe like the legendary Pokemon throughout the region, right?
No, they revealed that.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
That's a fun story, Lumi, but I've talked to people and heard things about like those Nintendo reps saying things and them not being true.
Well, no, I'm not saying that this is valid. I'm saying this is where people were getting the idea that we would visit there. Was that bit and the fact that like Dusty said it was grayed out like Area Zero, which made people we were able to visit Area Zero. But no, I never bought that. I thought from the second that was posted that like, ooh, no, he's trolling, you know.
Either he's messing around or he just doesn't know, you know.
And so
maybe
right?
it was something, you know. I don't know. Maybe it was something and they cut it because we know they cut things from this game too.
That's true. This could be cut content, but I guess
that's also another big reason why we could get DLC hypothetically is like
an epilogue or DLC
so
in
much
this area.
Content was cut. Like you have the cut, the features. Like there was supposed to be a feature to set your Pokemon's speed IV to 0, and then probably the biggest one is the Terra States. You know, there was
Yeah.
supposed to be at least a Pikachu Terra State. I imagine more, because at one point they asked
Ku was saying more.
Yeah,
He was
because
saying
at one
more.
point they asked Ku how many of these Terra States, because he had been teasing that since Scarlet and Violet's release date, before we got the DLC reveal.
We needed
and
Terra
he said,
mats, Terra hats.
He said that they said how many, and he said a decent amount or something to that effect. So like
he recently said something that there were more. Like that's why he made that one post about there being some, and he was like there was more than just that. That's why.
That's very sad. That's very sad.
When I look at these two, when you see that part that looks like Kalos and then Paldea, I can only see two people kissing.
What?
All I can see. Look at their lips
right here,
they're kissing. Yes, and it's a nose, and then
this is like the eyebrow.
No, that's its other nose. Like that's the guy's nose. His eyebrow's above it, I guess.
I just see the state of Illinois.
Yeah, I see that a little bit too. But I see somebody drew it, and I cannot unsee it.
Yeah.
Like I cannot.
This gaping. This looks like something else.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Here we go. so I think, and honestly, here's the thing: whether it's I think the beauty of another mythical Pokemon in epilogue story, right? Because what is an epilogue? The epilogue is no different from the dark. It's just a mystery gift event. It's a legendary, a mythical event, right? That's what the epilogue is. That's what it's been established as.
You would assume that it was going to be like some lore because it's an epilogue, so it's part of a story.
Sure,
you know what I mean? Like, there's some
just,
story, but there's no
I think that's just Game Freak language. So the only thing I'm holding out for, because I don't expect DLC, but I do expect some additional. I would anticipate. I would not be surprised if we get another epilogue. And if we do, I would expect us to possibly travel, because now we have the ability to fly outside of Paldea, right? We can fly to Blueberry Academy. We can fly to Kitakami. Who's to say we don't fly to a new location and it happens to be, like when you check the map marker, it's like a random place in this southern Kalos area. And it's like one little house or something, right?
Yeah. I can't believe you brought this back.
Dude, I think it makes sense. I don't think it's that ridiculous.
I can't believe we're talking about this again. Dang it.
And then the other thing is obviously Scarlet and Violet 2. That probably would be a whole nother episode.
I think that the DLC is the most unlikely, like more DLC.
Yeah.
I think Scarlet and Violet 2 is actually more likely in the impossible realm of all of this. But I think it's more likely. And that
would be like a 2024 game, right? It would be like basically it would be like
or 2025.
Yeah, it would be like the story of Scarlet and Violet 3 years later. What has changed? What has happened? I could see them introducing new Pokemon. There's new Titans. There's a shuffle of gym leaders. I think Scarlet and Violet cares about their characters, right? It cares about the region. And now that we've unlocked all these things, like I could see, like in a lot of ways, this feels like what Unova was trying to do with its sequel, right? Because that's kind of the idea. Like Gold and Silver was the first sequel game to Red, Blue, and Yellow, and then you have Black 2 and White 2 being the first actual like official sequel.
There is something to be said about that. Like all of these Unova hints and references, that Scarlet and Violet could be just like, oh, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah, and listen,
very Unova.
And the Riddler uses the term Paradox Unova, so we assume it's Unova. But what is Paradox Unova? It's a different version of what Unova did, which was a sequel game. So very clearly you could just...
It's Team Plasma comes to Paldea.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't know. I think and we're going to do a whole different episode about this, but if we're talking about predicting what could come next, I think it's the safest bet is to give Game Freak credit that they could actually surprise us, because they have in the past, by giving us a brand new playable experience, whatever that is. I don't think they're out of ideas. I think they...
No, certainly not.
They're cooking. Game Freak's cooking.
Definitely.
And then...
Is it for now or 2025? That's the question. I mean,
and the question is, who's handling the grill? Is it Omori?
No.
Dude, I just finished playing through... I just rolled credits in Black version, and I love seeing... Like, the music pops up. It shows the logo for Pokemon Black. It says Masuda, and I'm like, oh, man, like... Man, the good old days, baby.
Well, see, for the record, Omori did really good at first too. He did Oris and he did Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon.
Yeah.
The issue
No,
was
he did not do Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
he didn't. Okay,
No.
well he did Oris. He did Oris.
Iwao did Ultra Sun.
You're right. Iwao did. Iwao the goat. How can I forget? But the thing is, like, even Masuda. Okay, well, what else did Masuda give us? Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl.
Facts.
Let's go,
Didn't
Pikachu
really
and Eevee.
give that to us. He was like helping.
He was the
them.
one Game Freak guy who was over there making sure
he
they
wasn't
didn't do
producing.
a bad job.
He wasn't the director though.
He was the one guy who was supposed to make sure they didn't do a bad job.
Also, he was on his way out. He was like, you know what, whatever. We'll see what we're gonna do here.
He saw Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and that's why he was on his way out. He calls out the Pokemon. Hey,
He's like,
you gotta
"This
get
is
me
it.
out of here.
This
It
is
is
it."
not gonna be good. Oh, it's gonna be like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Worse.
Yeah. So and then the I guess the fourth pillar of when we can return to Paldea. Actually, I guess here's a bonus one. I was gonna say an actual remake in 20 years or whatever. We're not gonna talk about that today. But I think the other possibility is when we go to, let's say, Unova, right? Let's say, or in Generation 10, we go to a new region. Let's say it's in Japan. What the precedence that this current DLC has done in Scarlet and Violet, the precedence that they have set is that now DLC in additional stories can connect to previous regions, which means maybe our third DLC for Scarlet and Violet is actually a DLC for the Gen 10 game where we return to Paldea through a new location that is represented or based on the Azores or all of these other great locations, Lumi, that you had mentioned, right? That are related or close to the real life Spain and Portugal. I think that is probably the likeliest candidate, right, for returning to geographically the Paldea region, right? That's, we go to Gen 10 and the DLC, one of the DLCs, instead of going to Kitakami or Unova, what we're actually going to be doing is returning to or entering Southern Kalos, right?
Going by the pattern that they can break at any moment, but the 3-year pattern that they've had break for a while. Then Gen 10 DLC would fall on the 30th anniversary, so you already know it's gonna be in Kanto.
Yeah. I talked to Toby about this. I don't know if I've talked to you guys about it, but I'm convinced Gen 10 is still gonna happen. Listen, they instead of lining them both up at the same time, instead of changing the timeline to line up Gen 10 and the 30th anniversary, what they do is they give us the grand Gen 10 in 2025, and then they get a second year of celebration with the 30th year anniversary to just give us Kanto content. So they get 2 years of massive celebration.
I definitely think that's a real thing.
I think that's what's going to happen. But anyways, that's a different video.
That's very off topic.
That's a different video.
Very off topic.
That's a different video that I think we're about to record.
I think we're about to record that. Is there anything else that you guys think we should see in a return to Paldea? Is there anything
Mega
else
Evolution return. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, I think
oh my gosh.
I think I love the Titan experience as well. I would love to see more of that as well, just as a little.
They could explain Herba Mystica with that.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's true.
Somehow.
Yeah, and
how how Great Tusk and Iron
more
Treads got out of Area
Paradox
Zero. How did they get out?
Nobody's
ever been able to get out.
How did they get out? But
did someone
Moon
leave them
hasn't?
out? Dude,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Where if there's a time travel time machine, who's to say we can't just time travel back in Paldea in our same timeline to see certain events in Paldean history? Let's leave it at that. That's the coolest thing right there, right?
Oh, the history of Paldea is like the coolest thing.
Yeah,
about Paldea.
And they could use the time machine to actually demonstrate that, right?
Mm-hmm. Legends Terapagos coming to you on your Nintendo DS 3D
your
with
Super
Light
Nintendo.
Power Wii on November 14th, 2041.
And I know all of you guys are going to have so many ideas about this, so make sure you leave it in the comments. And if you guys want to see more content, if you want more regular uploads, we do have another Hidden Power channel, Hidden Power Plus. That's where we post all of our clips and we highlight some of the best moments of in the podcast history. So definitely go check that out. Subscribe so you get notified. Lumi, do you want to thank our producers?
Yes. First off, I want to thank all of our patrons. You all are amazing, and YouTube members. The word's interchangeable.
Yeah,
right.
supporters.
The supporters. That's a better word. Yes. Supporters.
All of our supporters.
All of
producers.
Y'all. We love y'all so much. But we want to give a special shout out to our mythical tier members, SEH, Art Gold, Jasco, Candace Wendy's, and Trash Panda. And we want to give a super special shout out to our Arceus tier members, that is Drogain and Bramtastic. Thank you all so very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it so much, guys. This time of year, YouTube views drop. Pokemon hype has dipped a little bit, and as well, also ad revenue has also dipped in January in this time of year. So your support helps us stay afloat and keep pumping out these weekly videos. We love you guys so much. Check out this video right here. Leave a review if you're new. Subscribe if you're new. We'll see you soon. Peace out.
Hey!
But there's still room for more stories. There's still room for more content. What's a good way to say that?
Dusty says room like a northerner.
Room?
Room.
Varoom.
Varoom. Anyway, I don't know why.